So a couple of days ago, a 2,000-year-old city was found underneath a city in Turkey. And when I say a city, I mean a city that could have held up to 60 to 70,000 people. It had a synagogue underneath the city, and this is all carved in stone, from underneath in the ground. So it had a synagogue there for persecuted Jews, and it had a church for persecuted Christians, and it had a place for them to live, among other things. So I want to read a little bit of this Christian Post article to you about this just fantastic and really interesting find. Researchers believe the site may have housed up to 70,000 people and was initially built as a hiding place or escape area more than 1,900 years ago. The underground complex was reportedly discovered during a local cleaning and conservation effort. It is believed to be possibly the largest such complex in the world, according to the Jerusalem Post. Researchers say only 3% of the site has been excavated, so it's still unknown how large this city may span. Historical artifacts and other decorations were also recovered from the complex, including Roman-era coins and oil lamps similar to those described in the Gospels, indicating the underground city may have been built as early as the 2nd century, according to Tarkan. So I think this is really cool, but also I wanted to take just a brief opportunity to mention that these people built their church on the rock. And, well, okay, so yeah, just kind of a silly joke, but in all seriousness, I imagine that church that was built underneath that city, I think that church probably really rocked. All right, I know, I don't have any more puns, but I do just want to finally say, in all seriousness, if you ever find yourself between a rock and a hard place, you might know that you're in the right place. Okay, dad jokes aside, the reason I wanted to bring this up is just for a simple reason. From this ancient civilization comes a long-forgotten Christian idea. It's the idea that we are in the world, but not of the world. The early church knew well the importance of creating a culture within a culture. There was this idea that we were different, that we were distinct, and that the way that we thought could not afford to be the way that the world thought, and vice versa. Now, it doesn't mean we're better than anybody, but it does mean that we have superior ideas, not because they're my ideas or a pastor's ideas or my pastor's ideas, as great as he can be, but rather because they're ideas that flow from the heart and the mind of God. We used to have that confidence as Christians. I hope we still do. I can't imagine that we would sit on the sidelines as much if we really felt like we had those ideas in and flowing through our mouths and heads. So in a society that is constantly molding language to mean whatever they want it to mean, we have to be the ones to stand up and to say and declare a reality to a world that's slipping between the cracks. There's another pun for you. Last one, I promise. And part of that means building things that can help people escape the world and the dangers that are in it, even if those dangers are not physical dangers, but maybe they're just ideological dangers. I guess what I'm saying is this, is that I believe it's time for Christians to get serious about a parallel economy. I believe it's time for us to get serious about building things on our own, to build a city, as it were, on a hill, or maybe a city under the ground, whatever the case. But it's time for us to get serious about a parallel economy where we're building coffee shops, where we're building our own businesses, where we're actually creating media that isn't awful. Right now we say, oh, it's a Christian movie to excuse it so that you understand it was low budget, probably didn't have talented actors, and isn't going to be that good. So set your bar low so that you can actually say, oh, it wasn't that bad. That's what we mean when we say Christian movie, set the bar low. But it doesn't have to be that way. There was a time in which the church knew. Now, maybe this was out of necessity, and I mean this probably more metaphorically than literally. I don't think we need to build, bunkers underground. So doomsday preppers, just chill. We don't need to build bunkers underground to protect ourselves from the dangers of the world. But what I do think we need to do is we need to build our own culture, as it were. Here's what I would say. The religious right of the 80s resisted culture. They fought culture. And that paved the way for a new generation of Christians in the 90s and the 2000s, and pretty much where we are today, where they said, well, we don't want to fight culture anymore because we alienate people. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to mimic culture. We're going to show them that we can be cool like you. And in the process, what we've become is like the very uncool, nerdy kid at the party that wants to be noticed by everybody, that comes up to the crowd of popular kids and says, hey guys, what's going on? Can I hang with you? And of course, to that, the answer is always, no, go away. You're annoying. And so we've mimicked the culture, and so we've worn the skinny jeans, and we've got the Instagram accounts, and we've done all these things to try to look as much like the culture as we possibly can. What I suggest is that we take a third step. And this is, by the way, found in a book by Andy Crouch. And the third step is that we cultivate culture. We create our own culture. We realize that God created us with the ability to be creative and to create things that matter and create things that make a difference. So at the end of the day, I want to try to always end on a redemptive note. And I think that's it, is that we're not called to just resist culture. And so that we're just like, no, those were what the pagans do. We're not called just to mimic culture. See, I do what the pagans do. I'm cool just like you. But we're called to create our own culture, something dynamic, something great, something that can help people in a time of need that's really, really important. That's what we should be about. That's what I hope Indie Thinker is about. So I'm flipping things around a little bit today. I don't have a not today for you. I hope what I have is a yes, please, the sooner the better today. We need a group of Christians who are not falling for the talking points that we hear so often in society. We're not falling for the idea that we have to change the definition of love. Or maybe even just to get practical with it, that we have to announce the pronouns that we're told to announce even though we know we don't believe it. Maybe I can go a little bit further and just say, we don't have to abide in the lie that you know you think it. So why are you castigating those who are actually saying something about it when you know deep down you feel the exact same way and you think the exact same thing? You're just afraid to say it. It's time for us to say, today is the day where I'm going to start taking my faith seriously enough to build something that will impact lives and generations. And then maybe we'll be discovered thousands and thousands of years from now, then turned around into a euphemism or a metaphor for talking about how Christians should be proactive in impacting the culture. If you were capable of building something that a podcaster in the future could talk about, like me, then by God, you've done something amazing, friend. And so, with that said, I just have to say, onward, Christian soldier. And if that's corny to you, well then let's move on from the corny creating Christian culture that we've got, and let's move on into creating something unique and beautiful and wonderful. You can catch brand new episodes of Indie Thinker with Reed Huberman every Monday and weekly bonus episodes to keep you thinking throughout the week. But you have to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new episodes drop. If you enjoy this content, make sure to like this video and share it with friends.